Thank you for joining us. This is Paul Wilson.
And Chris Ehmke.
You're listening to the Diesel Performance Podcast. Guys, we're going to dive into it right away this week. We got WC Fabs from Facebook. This week, we pulled up Eli James Lawson. I have a LB7 with a 64 G2 turbo, 30 over Exergy injectors and Sportsman pump. When would it be a good indicator on when to upgrade the intercooler and radiator? I've noticed since running the truck, pulling my fifth wheel camper up steep grades with the AC on a hot day, I can't control my temps. If I turn the AC off, temps are under control for the EGTs and coolant. Also, if needed to upgrade, what brand of intercooler and radiator are most efficient? This is a great question, Chris, and this is one that I really like getting. This is somebody who's already put some time and money into their truck, somebody who's already made some investments, and now they're looking at like, hey, when I'm pushing this thing to its absolute limit, pulling a fifth wheel trailer up a steep grade with the AC on a hot day, that's everything. That's the perfect storm for something going wrong.
That's usually when I get the oh shit call. Like, let me tell you what happened, Chris. Let me tell you what happened. Or you get the guys, hey, my truck just did this. Well, what were you doing? Well, I was towing. Okay, what was the temperature? Well, it was this. And it's like you have to pull all these key components, out of the situation.
No, he says, like, basically when I'm taking my truck to its absolute working limits, things are getting too hot. What do I do?
What are the temps?
Oh, okay. Let's assume that they are pushing up to a point to where it's looking dangerous. Coolant's broaching 160, EGTs
160.
Okay, you know what I mean. Sorry.
Okay, so like let's say, we'll dive into. I'll just a scenario, right? So a gentleman, I'm not going to mention names probably because I can't remember it. This was a couple weeks ago. Arizona. Right, LML Duramax, known for overheating. Okay, fairly stock truck, was towing. I want to say like 14,000 pounds. It was like a 100-degree day, and coolant temps were like 215 degrees.
Gotcha.
Okay, it's warm. I mean, it is warm. I would honestly, I'd expect it to be a little hotter just because of the temperature, this and that. And I kept asking him. I was like, so when you're running the truck, it's getting to that temperature. What happens when you get to a flat surface or when you sustain a vehicle speed? All the temps just drop right down. Okay, were you going through any coolant? No. Wellness check, kind of going through the truck. There are some times in a scenario, I mean, the best thing you do is just not operate the truck when it's hot. Or not tow that load when it is that.
Or for Eli, just turn the AC off.
Right, turn the AC off.
Be mildly uncomfortable for a short period of time
going up that grade, or doing something like that. The thing is guys call in and they're like, oh, I'll do external fan or secondary fans, electric fans or this or that. No, like there's just certain things that you just can't get around.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess on Eli's specifically, my question would be more: are we watching just coolant? Is coolant temp and EGTs are coming up? Because we're going to address those two topics differently.
Right.
So let's say we're not hitting 215. Let's say we are starting to approach the 260 mark, which is blown head gasket territory. Just realistically. If you saw 260, you probably aren't going to have coolant when you shut the truck off, right?
Absolutely.
So anyway, so let's say we're starting to approach the 260. Maybe we're 240, maybe we're 230, but we're hot. Right, like we're outside of our recommended operating range. Mm-hmm. Now, if coolant's coming up, that's a big difference than if EGTs are coming up, because with EGTs coming up, he's already done a lot of the modifications that are going to help. I would say maybe a set of WC Fab intercooler pipes, hot and cold. Maybe looking at a Banks intercooler, that'd be a solid mod, or a Mishimoto if you can get one shipped to you with no damage. You have a couple of options that are going to help a little bit, right? They're not a night and day fix, but once you've already done a turbo and some other things, and intake and other things to it, these final little modifications, manifolds, up pipes, intercooler pipes, they may help enough, just enough, to keep you safe in that scenario. They may not. It may just be too much.
Yeah, and I mean, I think with a lot of guys that I talk to, guys that I deal with, it's tough because they've already made the large investment for a turbocharger. They've already made the large investment for an intake horn, such as Eli's truck, and an intake and things of that nature.
Sure.
He's got upgraded injectors, pump, and all that fun stuff. LB7, right? You got to do those upgrades. This truck isn't overfueled. I know Eli. I know this truck.
Yeah.
Okay, I know how it's tuned. I met him over at out at UCC when we were out there this year. And he uses the truck. And I remember when we first started talking and identifying what he was after, it was a full package, right? Complete package. So when you do things like this, like Eli, who's invested a lot of money, Now you're going to get into intercooler pipes, and he already has up pipes and some of those components, but you're going to spend another $1,000 to $1,500 for just a little something. Like in most cases, is it going to be a night and day difference? No, it'll never be that.
Right.
It's just going to be a little bit. But what about the cooling system? Because that's just EGT, and then we get to the whole thing.
There is the other side of this component, right? Now, and this is my point. While we're on EGTs, hey man, it's your truck, it's your money. If you look at it and you say, well, these pipes and this intercooler is $1,500 or $2,500 or whatever the dollar amount is, if you decide that's worth it, that's totally fine. I actually support guys doing that, man. Like if EGTs are very much a priority to you, that's fine. Go do the intercooler pipes. Just like Chris said, we're not expecting or setting up the expectation that this is going to be a night and day difference. Now you can run up at 70 miles an hour and just hold it to the woods. Right. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that it may be just that little bit to help to make you comfortable. And if that's worth it to you, jump on and do it. If you're looking for brands, WC Fab intercooler pipes, and Banks or Mishimoto intercoolers, all of
AFE. I mean, there's
AFE. There's some other options out there.
We've seen a lot of,
and they work.
We've seen a lot of kits come into, trucks come in and out of the shop with different kits and setups. And honestly, there's a lot of nice stuff out there.
Yeah, there's not many intercoolers I would tell you to stay away from. I really don't have a lot of intercooler problems, right? You blow one up, a stock one, I would say never put a stock one back in. That's just foolish to me.
I did.
Of course. Now, on the coolant side, things do get much more complicated.
So Eli did do head gasket studs, the whole 9 yards. So the truck is quote unquote bulletproof, right? I guess that's more 6.0 terminology.
It's a Ford world thing.
Either or.
Bulletproof. I put head studs in it. It's bulletproof.
It's built.
Sure.
It's fully built.
Didn't EGR block. It didn't EGR delete and head studs. It's bulletproof.
The thing that sucks here is it's not like there's an aftermarket bigger radiator that you could put in that's going to be a night and day difference.
Nope.
Okay.
Not worth it.
We're not going to tune the truck to have the fan clutch turn on sooner.
Not an option. That's not a thing that we can do. It's not even we won't do it. We can't do it.
You can't add more coolant or change the coolant itself to run cooler.
Lower thermostats. Myth.
Yeah, myth.
Don't waste your time.
My first go-to with this situation is, what gear are you in? What RPM are you at? What's the boost number at?
Bingo. Thank you, Chris.
So it's just trying to identify operator and potential operator error. And
sounds like, honestly, to me, unless we're already crawling, it sounds like the speed's too high.
I mean, or the gear's too high.
Right.
He's got to drop a gear. He's got to go a little, lower in gear.
Yep. Get some more RPM.
Yeah.
Get some more boost.
And Eli's seasoned. I mean, he knows how to operate the truck. I've had multiple conversations with him in the past.
Yeah, and you can tell from this message that he has a clear handle on what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, he can identify operating the truck.
Right.
He knows his surroundings.
Yeah.
So
no, that's good. And I think that's key in these situations too. I know we haven't given a lot of concrete advice such as go buy this product, it'll fix your problem. There is no magic pill for these.
It's more or less roll the windows down, shut the AC off. You are taxing the engine that much more. That's the secret sauce.
Yep.
Anytime you can allow the truck to be just a little less stressed out, that's the component.
And I suppose if you're new to this and you're not sure, maybe you don't have that a lot of experience to say this is what I need to do exactly, the first thing I would recommend you to do is play around with your speed and try to go a little bit lower. That may kick in to automatically downshift the truck. Try to go a little bit slower. You may start to see your gauge come down. You got to play with some of your options when you're on the road. Again, there's no just turn this wrench or take this magic pill and it'll fix everything. You got to kind of check out your situation and your options and see what's going to work. We don't want you doing 5 miles an hour up the hill. That doesn't make any sense.
No, dude, just add twin turbos.
There is the other final solution.
That's not going to help with coolant, though.
Again, you may see coolant spike up quicker with twin turbos.
I remember our enclosed trailer loaded was probably like 8,000 pounds, right? And I went to Kentucky, right? My truck's twin turboed or whatever, and I was cruising probably shouldn't say this, 90 mile an hour, with the trailer just cooking, right? And I looked at EGTs.
Yep.
And I looked at coolant temps, and those were the only two things I looked at next to my cruise control set, and I just cooked. I just went. And trans temp. I had to watch trans temp.
Right. But that's it though. You were aware of your surroundings.
Exactly.
You know that's well beyond what we would recommend a customer to do.
Absolutely.
Or a listener. Please don't go do that.
And don't call me and ask questions. I just wanted to get there.
It happened.
Yeah.
Right. We can admit that. Awesome, man. Well, I think we really hit that one well. Eli, thank you so much for sending in a message. Listeners, if you have questions about your truck, about your next mod, or just diesel stuff in general, shoot it on over to us. Jump on our Facebook page. I'm sure you can find it. It's just Diesel Performance Podcast. So should be pretty easy there. Chris, let's dive into the Exergy do's and don'ts. I pulled this one out of our archives. We have covered this before, but I just felt like it was so good, and it recently came up for me that I thought I'd do it again.
The don't? The don't came up for you?
It did. I got a call. I no longer take phone calls over at Duramax
Yeah,
Tuner.
he moved up in the world. He's big sauce.
I moved
He's big
over
sauce.
in the world. I now work just on the marketing stuff. But anyways, I do still get customer phone calls. Listeners, always feel free to reach out to me. I have no problem talking with you. I do rather enjoy it. But I got a call from a guy who had pulled his injectors out and told me that the actual story started with, hey, I pulled my injectors out and I'm sending them in for honing, but I thought I should clean them up first. So I grabbed some steel wool and knocked off any crust or anything that I saw on the tip of the injector.
My eyes are bulging out of my head right now.
Yeah, it was a rough conversation. The call didn't end poorly, but it was a hard one to tackle.
Was that a phone mute and you just went, what the fuck?
It was like I couldn't even think. I didn't need to hit mute on the phone. I had nothing to say.
Right.
Like when he finished talking, I was like, you said what?
Oh, that's like nails on a chalkboard.
You did what to your very expensive injectors?
Nails on a chalkboard right there.
So the don't for today is don't clean your injectors with stiff bristles, abrasive brushes, steel wool, anything that has metal or hard parts in it. You will. It's not you might. It's you will damage the injectors, and then at the very least, it's going to cost you more. At the worst, it's going to cost you a lot more. So a whole new injector.
Like, let's be real here. You're sending off injectors to a company such as Exergy, and they know that they're getting sent a used set of injectors.
They do not need you to clean them.
They're expecting that there's going to be crap on there. Don't try to falsify what you're sending them. Oh, the nozzles are clean. It's going to test better. It's just going to test better.
Not only that, but like a built-in part of that pricing, no matter who you go to, Exergy or anybody else, if you send injectors in for honing, they have to clean the injectors before they hone them because they can't run their machines on dirty injectors. They'd be like dangerous and stupid and not work.
Yeah.
So it does not even matter if it's one of Exergy's competitors or a totally different company. There is no benefit and no cost savings to you to clean the injectors yourself. Now, if you're a DIY guy and you're pulling your injectors out to inspect them and you got to put them back in the truck, hey, you might need to wipe them down.
Yep.
That's fine. Use a soft rag that is clean. I usually suggest grab a brand new rag or a brand new shop towel, not a regular paper towel that's going to dissolve and go into your injectors, but like an actual shop towel with not terry cloth where it's got a bunch of hair and fuzz all over it.
I'll get in the pintle that can get in the nozzle.
Think about this. Like, think about what you're doing, what you're working with. It's precision equipment that's measured in microseconds and thousands of PSI.
You said it.
Right? Like, just pause what you're going to do and think about that before you do it.
But there was crap and rust on there, man. There was crud.
And also, by the way, if you can visually, like with a naked eye, see a problem with your injector,
don't even fucking send them in.
Do not try to fix it unless you work at an injector company, like, or a high pressure fuel system company. Like, if your naked eye can see that there's rust on the tip of your injector, there's no amount of cleaning that's going to fix the internal damage that's already happened.
Oh, if you have debris build up like that on the outside, you can almost be guaranteed that there's issues going on inside.
You would have better luck spending your time looking at your combustion cylinder as opposed to continuing to waste your time with the tip of the injector. So I really want to drive that one home. I know we've talked about it before. We've talked about it with the guys over at Exergy before. But it is really important, guys. Just think it through when it comes to your high-pressure fueling system.
Yeah. So Duramax Tuner, right, where we work, where they employ us, right? Thanks for this.
We do that thing, yeah.
They do the diesel insights. You've headed that off. I remember a couple of years ago when you started doing this, and I was like, Paul, like, you were so pumped when you get going on something and an idea, like, you go with it, and then you don't shut up and you keep repeating the same thing.
For sure.
And then it's contagious, and everyone has to start talking about it, and everyone has to start saying it. So you got Nick on board to do this. Like, it was a weekly series. It's maybe not necessarily every week, but it's consistent.
Yeah.
Okay. And the reception that I get from guys that call into the shop, amazing. Guys love information. Yeah. So Guys, whoever is listening to this, I do not give Paul compliments. Like, I'm just going to be very blunt. But what's been one of the latest episodes that we've done?
Okay, we just recently published 5 Reasons to Tune Your LML. Now, we had quite a bit of discussion about this because we go generally on just very informative information in Diesel Insight. So we've covered P0700 codes, LB7 injector failures. We've covered turbo topics, all sorts of stuff, right? And we usually don't try to do like anything that's about what we sell, but we started getting a ton of calls and a ton of requests, just guys asking, should I tune my LML?
Or if you owned an LML, what would you do first? What are the first few things you would do? And then it's like, I love bullet points. This is perfect. So tell us about your Cosmopolitan magazine article. What did you do here?
Thank you. So the list post, which people like.
As
much as the crew has started to poke around about the list posts looking like they're magazine articles, I think it does present the information in a great way. Anyways.
You take the information and put it in a paragraph. I probably won't read it. You bullet point it, I'll read it all day.
Yeah. I know. And then if I put numbers in front of it, it's like I prioritize those bullet points and you read them in that order.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I'll just give you guys a real fast rundown. I'm just going to list off the 5 reasons to tune your LML, but the video is so much better. It's only about 4 minutes long. Jump on Facebook, jump on YouTube. Check that out at DuramaxTuner.com. We'll toggle back and forth, Chris. I got number 1, throttle response. Can be totally improved with tuning.
Night and day difference. So a more linear feel or more of a linear reaction to how much percentage you apply the throttle versus what the truck actually does. Always get complaints with some of the newer platforms. It's just sluggish. It's turbo lag.
Yeah.
Well, it's not turbo lag. It's a latency in the throttle and when it registers to actually do something to the ECU. So we can improve on that. Number 2, it's going to be EGT control.
Especially LMLs with switchable tuning that run the no defuel option with smart EGT control.
Yeah, and we have that implemented in the calibration itself. So you still want to be, you don't want to be oblivious to your surroundings, but, you still watch the truck and operate the truck, but you'll notice that the truck will have a different strategy in its upshift, downshift scenarios to help with regulating temperature.
Yeah. It also, we built in a formula to say that when the truck is under load, we know what those stock EGT probes equal in manifold temperature. So stock EGT probes are not put into the manifold. The manifold is what we're talking about when we talk about EGTs in the diesel world. We want to know right at the manifold, right next to the combustion cylinder, how hot is it getting? Because that'll give us the quickest indicator to good engine health. So anyway, we took these stock probes that are downstream in the exhaust system. We measured to find out what the delta was or what the difference was to a manifold probe. And then we built into the tables to say that if this truck starts to break this threshold, back down the fuel rate, bring the temps back down. And it doesn't just drop the power, so you're not going to fall flat on your face. It slowly tapers it in.
And then allows the trans to downshift, bump
and then
up
it can come back
RPM
up
and boost to keep temperatures in check.
And then you can get your speed back up. No problem, man. Number 3 is on me. That's switch on the fly. Your truck is probably not used for just one purpose. Your truck is probably used for a couple of different purposes. You probably daily drive it sometimes and then tow with it sometimes, and then your wife drives it sometimes, and then your kid drives it sometimes. Depending on the purpose of your truck, we can set up a different tune to optimize it for that situation.
Yeah.
All right. It's a good way to wrap up switch on the fly.
Nailed it.
Cool.
Number 4. Everyone's favorite. Peak power. How much power am I going to make?
That's it,
Paul,
man.
what's a stock LML going to make with just the tune?
With just a tune, it's like 505, 510 right there. But if you throw a lift pump and a tune on it, 525 to the wheels. We've actually clocked 540 on a 15 before.
We have. So, I mean, turnkey 500 horse for a tune and a lift pump,
Would you should be doing a lift pump anyways.
You should. On an LML, I tell guys all the time, there's a couple things.
Anyways.
And then last but not least, my favorite.
This is I saved the 2 that we get the most amount of questions about for the end. So if it's not peak power, it's going to be MPG.
Yeah. So I tune the truck. I'm going to get 30 miles to the gallon. So
absolutely.
Guys, you heard it here first.
Buy 2 tunes.
Paul's extension 2122. Any fuel mileage questions that you have, let him know.
Please. You know what? Let's open it up to the callers, Chris. Anybody getting 30 miles to the gallon, please call me extension 2122. I would love to speak with you.
Well, my buddy's getting that, so that's all good.
If your buddy is getting that, I would love to speak to him.
I just want to set the record straight, man. If you got a single rear wheel, cruise short, okay, and you're on like a 33-ish tall tire, you're probably going to be hard-pressed to get over 2021. Maybe dip into the 22s, highway driving with the mintiest throttle response, and I'm talking like the headwind is in your favor. Like there is none.
Yeah, I would even venture to guess that if you're in a regular cab 2-wheel drive base model, 30 to the gallon is still outside of your reach.
Yeah, I mean, hand calculated, the best I've ever experienced in anything. I had an old 1990 first-gen Cummins 2-wheel drive with a 3-speed with a 307 gear, and that truck got about 25, 26 hand calculated. And then my 01, which was a 5-speed manual, 2-wheel drive again, that truck would average around 23, 24.
Yeah.
Now, I was putzing the truck. I mean, I wasn't enjoying driving it. I was literally trying to utilize, fuel mileage.
I got some data charts from Nick back in the day on the LML that he pulled 22, 23 at peak on the highway. That was the best run, like just highway driving gas station to gas station. Came in like 22, 23 right there. 21 was more average, though, for like peak highway if you're on and off, on ramps and shit like that in traffic. Yep. But yeah, mileage. There is some mileage to be had. There is mostly mileage to be had for the guys who are on 2-lane highways. So if you're able to drive around 60 miles an hour, you'll be the guy who really benefits the most. If you're a guy who's on the highway doing 75 miles an hour, you're probably not going to see too much of a change. It won't get worse.
Right.
I could say that. You get more power and not lose fuel mileage. How's that for something?
Mint.
All right, I'll take it. Chris, actually, for the end of the episode here, we've already recorded it.
Yeah, did it last week. So one of our coworkers, Jim Rendant, bought a kind of a predecessor to his old truck. So Jim has bought and sold more vehicles than I can count on my hands and toes in the last year.
Yeah, I was going to say in the last year.
If any of you guys follow his Instagram, you'll see firsthand, dude kind of lives like a rock star.
Yeah, let's set this up a little bit. So when Jim started, he drove an 0659.
That was nothing to where it was prior. So
right.
Jim's big in the Cummins community. He had like a 1,200 horse stock bottom end 10-second Cummins, and he had a big thread on Cummins forum. Tons of followers. A couple videos that went viral. 1320 where he actually blew his stock motor up. And a couple months later, me and him have been friends for years. Calls me one day. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna buy a Duramax," and I'm like, "No, man. Buy another Cummins. Put the motor into that truck. Whatever." Found him a truck. Good deal, put a stock motor in there, and then he came and worked for us.
Yeah.
Did some injectors, did a turbo, something small, and then he sold off the truck and he wanted out. And the truck was starting to show its age, a little bit of rust, had 200,000 miles on the body. He was like, I'm out. I'm done.
Right.
So what did he get, right?
I don't remember. Let's not even try to do the exact order. Let's give a list.
Okay.
Let's give a list.
A 12 King Ranch. A 15 Platinum, so those are two Fords. 15 GTR, Nissan. He had a 1,000 horse Cobra. He had an 06 Mitsubishi Evolution, little 4-banger.
I forgot about the Evo.
Yeah. He had a R33 GTR.
That's right.
Yeah, he had that for literally a week or two.
Yeah.
Z06 Vet, Hellcat. Oh, God.
The Hellcat. I never got to ride the Hellcat. That's the only one I wanted to ride.
It was not impressive. It
really?
was not. No, the Vet was probably my favorite out of all of them.
Okay, I did ride the Vet.
All within less than a year, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, Acura TL.
None of these vehicles were owned for more than 3 months.
No. I doubt he made a payment.
All of these vehicles he went through in less than 365 days.
And then he comes up to me and goes, "I want another 3rd-gen Dodge." He goes, "I want a Mega." And that is something that I will stick up for him on. He has always wanted a maroon Mega. So he found a one-owner, 50,000-mile Cherry. It's maroon, Mega.
It's red.
Business Council.
For our listeners with 8 colors in their Crayola box.
Yeah, the ruby, whatever. Inferno red is what they call it.
Sure.
The truck's gorgeous.
It is.
The truck's beautiful. I reap benefits because he was driving the truck home from PA, and he calls me. He's like, "I'm ordering a set of wheels." I'm like, "Shit, order me a set. We can get a better deal, a 2-for-1." So I got a set of wheels. He got a set of wheels out of it. But the truck looks nice, and he's got a game plan in play. We'll see how he executes it. If he keeps a truck for more than 6 months, that is the longest truck he's owned.
If he keeps it for more than 3 months, it'll be
in the last couple of years.
Longest ownership in 2 years.
So, and his other Cummins, he had that truck for 5 years. So that was. This isn't the first go-around where he's bought and sold vehicles. Like a couple of years ago, back in high school, he had a run-in very similar. So I'm excited. So what we ended up doing with this was you came up with the idea, like, hey, you guys should go for a ride-along. So talked to Jim, had to convince him, whatever, and we went, and it was a short clip. There's not really much to talk about when you're talking a stock 50,000 mile 5.9 Cummins, but he's got some tuning. It has an exhaust. The silencer ring's removed. We kind of touch on that. And, we just went for a drive around our local town here and just talked about some of the characteristics of the truck.
So listeners, for the end of the episode, we're going to kick it over to Chris Ehmke and Jim Rendon, driving around just being a couple of cum dogs.
Oh, cum daddies.
Hey guys, Chris over here, Diesel Performance Podcast, and today I am with
Jim
Rendant, the Jim Rendon. So, Jim, we're in something a little different. What are we in?
2006 Mega Cab.
All right, Inferno Red, the signature Rendon color. You've been pissing me off in the office for a couple months now. You wanted a Mega, you wanted to get back into another Cummins, so tell us a little bit about why this thing is so special.
Yeah, so as you know before, obviously the quad cab had a long history, and I sold that a year and a half ago, and I've been buying a bunch of cars and things to try to replace it, find something to fill that void. And I had a lot of cool stuff, but I just got the itch building customers' trucks and whatnot. It makes you kind of remember what you had and kind of want to get back into that. So been looking around and couldn't really find the truck that I was after, but we scored a truck a couple weeks back, and just getting started with this. So hopefully we'll eventually build it into what the quad cab was, and teach a lot of the guys things that you need to do and things that you don't need to do, and then eventually again get it back up to the same level or higher than where the quad cab was, with ultimately a 9-second goal. I mean, I think that'll be cool because nobody's done it before.
So it was funny, going through old Instagram photos and stuff, and we had a picture last week that we posted with the 15 in this in the parking lot.
Yep.
And 3.5 years ago, we had a picture of my old 07 and your old 06.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there looking, and it's like, for someone who doesn't realize or appreciate it, like those two trucks right there had about 600,000 miles on them between the two. Okay, from the old photo to now two trucks at 100,000, right?
Yeah,
so how many miles are on this thing?
57. I believe.
57, and it's an 06.
Yeah.
And the thing literally looks like it's been in a time warp. Like
man.
the interior, the
Sure.
fabric, the carpets, like this thing's mint. This thing's pretty sweet.
Bought a 06 brand new in 18.
Yeah, pretty much. It was stock. Like this thing didn't even have an exhaust.
Yeah, nothing.
No.
This thing's 100% stock, never modified.
I remember back when I was like 17, 18, when I had my old second gen, I got pumped and taken out the silencer ring out of the turbo. And then I get a thing from you the other day, you're popping out the silencer ring. I was like, dude had a 1,200 horse truck, and he's pumped on taking out the silencer ring to get a little bit more turbo noise.
Trying to get those free mods.
Dude, you know what? Hey, mods for days. Sound is a modification these days.
Always.
So
Spool makes her drool.
now you were playing around on the dyno over at Calibrated. Nick gives us full ring. I mean, we get to have a lot of fun.
Free game to do whatever.
So the truck was on the dyno yesterday, and you baseline this thing. So 325 horsepower is what these things were advertised from the factory. Guys always talk about there's always so much of a percentage lost through the drivetrain. This truck's on a 22x12. What power did it make?
Made 307 is a baseline stock exhaust, base tune. I mean, definitely a low mileage truck, a strong truck. It's a very solid number. Not a huge loss. I mean, if anything, this one's got a little bit more from the factory. Call it a factory freak. But
hey, that's when I had my 07. Bought that truck, 348,000. Drove it from Upper Peninsula, Wisconsin, back to the shop. Loaded it right on the dyno, and that was just a 2-wheel drive truck, and it made like 311 or 310 or something. And we thought something was wrong with the dyno. We're like, dude, this thing's tired. Like something's got to be up. But then you find a low mileage unit, backing up the same type of numbers. 4-wheel drive, a little bit bigger, a little bit more of should be a driveline loss, but it's not.
Yeah, no,
So-
it's surprising. That's one thing that we've kind of tried to prove or disprove. Do wheels and tires make a difference? And
We saw a little bit of an influx on the Ford when you had that.
yeah, the Ford definitely.
But-
15, 20 horsepower was significant.
Yep.
Running a mud train versus a normal street tire, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, it's a strong truck. I mean, 307 is stout, so
You've already been tinkering around with some tunes with the V2 and whatnot, playing around with some of that stuff.
Yeah, we put our standard jack tuning in it, and I mean, it's nothing like what I'm used to, but it's what a lot of our customers have. And
so you couldn't tune the truck and make almost 550 or 600 like the Ford?
Yeah, it's not as strong as those, but we'll try to keep the strands alive until we can get over and have it built. But
cool.
I mean, it's definitely a nice driver. Spent the time today on the dyno doing some baseline testing again, stock tune, modified tunes, after changing the exhaust last night to disprove or see if the exhaust picked up any power as some of these manufacturers claim.
Oh, hell yeah, man. And I mean, for a typical 5-inch exhaust, they generally run around $600. You picked up some nasty horsepower on that thing.
Yeah, I wish I could say that. five horsepower, not even 1%.
Five horsepower for $600.
Yeah, I mean, this is where.
But the silencer ring, how much power did the silencer ring make?
I didn't baseline it, but no. But this is the thing, this is what we want to tell our customers and share this information. These guys go out and spend this kind of money on, they buy an exhaust or an intake, or a guy calls with a Duramax. I got an exhaust. Make sure the tune is is tailored for that. And it's like, it doesn't really make a difference. Yeah. So
I always tell guys, when we're talking forced induction, a turbo diesel engine, those factory components are going to flow well. They have to.
Yep.
So when you do exhaust, intake, up pipes, manifolds on a Duramax, whatever, it's going to help with efficiency. It's not necessarily going to help so much with peak power.
Yeah.
Peak power is dictated by the tune and turbocharger and fuel system. So.
Yeah, I mean, you take that $600, it was nice. I mean, I drove this thing. It's been, I've had the truck for 2 weeks now, I believe. I think it's 2 weeks to the day. And it was nice having a stock truck, something that's quiet and smooth. I mean, you feel the truck. I mean, it's nice. It's smooth,
this thing's solid.
Quiet.
This thing is solid.
Yeah, I mean, take that $600 and put it into something that's going to actually net you better fuel mileage or better drivability. Definitely more power and torque.
Take it right up here.
That's where we're, that's what we're trying to prove with it. So we're gonna do some things here with it that obviously improve the performance. Everything I want to do is performance oriented. To probably see the drag strip more than anything. I don't plan on doing any sled pulls or.
My sled pulls are so cool.
Yeah, not with this thing.
Nah, man, you got all the washing and stuff you have to do afterwards. And
57,000 mile truck's gonna stay nice.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
It fits in his garage, so that was the one thing. There was a customer of ours where he had to get a couple miles on the truck for a test drive, and I get a picture from him. He's like, "Well, it looks like a Megget's coming into the family. Fits in the garage on set." I'm like, "Dude, come on."
It's got about a foot of clearance in the garage. So works good.
His wife's truck gets to sit outside. His truck sits inside. I like it.
Yeah. That is.
So, walk us through. I know we talked a little bit earlier. Tune's done, exhaust is done, silencer ring mod. I mean, next thing, we all know what's up next. It's a big dollar investment. It's a transmission. So, what's that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. A lot of guys come to us and they want more power, but they don't. They don't want to. They want to do things that are inexpensive, and I understand that, but I'm not going to do. I'd rather not add power, and I'd rather build the drivetrain. So, the first thing that is going to be done is obviously going to be the transmission. We're going to get that solid. I'd rather spend more time behind the wheel slower than spend no time behind the wheel at all.
Because you added power and
we broke it. So downtime is not something that I like. I know a lot of our customers don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can't drive my vehicle every day, I'm pretty frustrated. I pay for something. I want to be able to drive what I have.
Setting the foundation's a big thing, and I mean, you really see that with our customer base. For the guy, it's his first diesel. He might not necessarily comprehend the fact about a transmission. Oh man, this thing's getting it. So they might not necessarily comprehend or see the importance of that, or they might think that they're the exception. Their trans is going to stay together. I know when I was younger, I thought the same way. After vehicles being down for 6 months at a time and spending more money than I cared to, you realize that maybe you're not necessarily the exception, and maybe you should take some advice from people that have been in the industry or someone who's done it before. But the foundation's key. for sure. So
Yeah, I mean, especially after going through all the
transmission issues, right?
Issues on the quad cab, that first year and a half, that was the worst shit I ever dealt with. I listed the truck for sale twice because of it. It's just like never thought you were going to get rid of that problem. So again, we're going to do things a little bit differently. Build the trans, get rid of the two-piece drive shaft. The last thing I want is for that thing to come apart and wreck, a
wreck
perfect
something.
truck underneath. So after that, we'll probably obviously we'll retune it. Stock turbo, built trans, get those power levels to share with some of the guys, and after that we'll probably go into one of our drop-in chargers, and who knows what we'll do after that. Maybe use it for some testing on R&D turbos and whatnot, but inevitably add some more fuel and push it. If we could do 10s on a stock bottom end, I think that'll be cool eventually. But
we only have a couple more months left in nice weather, so
it'll sit this winter, so get some time to do some modifications, get the looks where I want it, and then next year we'll probably hit it pretty hard next year. So
okay, cool. Well, guys, you heard it here on the podcast, right? We have some cool projects going over at Calibrated Power. There will be a video series on this as well, doing some diesel insights and things of that nature through the Duramax Tuner Facebook page and YouTube channel. Myself doing the drive-alongs, doing the test drives, those will be coming out here very shortly. Maybe you and I will do one together in this, who knows? Yeah. Jim's stingy and doesn't let people drive his stuff, so that's cool. If you have any questions, you know how to get a hold of us. You can message our Facebook page, comment on the videos, comment on the posts, give us a call at the shop. My extension's 2121. Your extension?
2126.
And the main line's 815-568-7920. So if you have any questions for us, feel free to reach out. We'll be glad to help. On that note, I'm Chris.
I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching and listening.
The Diesel Performance Podcast is brought to you by Calibrated Power Solutions, home of DuramaxTuner.com. Calibrated Power develops emissions-equipped calibrations for a wide variety of diesel powertrains, including the Duramax, Cummins, Power Stroke, John Deere, Case, New Holland, and many more. For more information and great customer service, check out CalibratedPower.com or call 815-568-7920. That's 815-568-7920.
Driving around just being a couple of cum dogs. Cum daddies.